Hey guys, it's True Bond Talks with Rachel and Linda. Thank you for joining us today. We have a topic that someone brought up to me a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was a good question. And this is very important and dear to me, this topic. And what was asked was, is it Christian or Christ-like to say no? So that'll be our topic today. We're going to talk about boundaries and what that looks like in your everyday interactions with people. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So the first question we came up with when, Jesus says, turn the other cheek, what, man, this verse has really been taken out of context, I think. Is he saying keep getting smacked?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And, when you're in the church or you have a heart for God, sometimes it's hard for you to tell people no because you want and long to be Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts, Miss Rachel, on letting someone smack you down?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to turning the other cheek, I think what he's saying is don't respond in retaliation. Like don't seek revenge. But he's not saying don't ever say no, right? Like we're all created in the image of God, so know your worth.
Mm-hmm.
And be firm about what you are and are not okay with. And if you're not okay with someone treating you a certain way, you absolutely need to stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm not okay with that. This is my boundary. Will not let you speak to me that way and put me down because I know my worth.
Very well stated. I love that. Yeah, because he's not saying that you should allow someone to abuse you physically or emotionally. And I like what you said. It's not, he doesn't want you to retaliate. He doesn't want you to go for it, start fighting. He's not saying go in there, go in for the punch. He's saying turn the other cheek and walk away. Like you're walking away from that person.
Yep.
And not engaging in a negative interaction that we know does what? Arguing leads to what? More arguing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not resolving anything.
Yes. And if, your friend asks you to walk, or not necessarily your friend, if someone asks you to walk 2 miles with them, or ask you to walk 1 mile and he says, go ahead and walk 2 with them, I don't think he means you're scheduled to be at work at 8 a.m., right? Say if you were scheduled to be at work at 8 a.m. Your neighbor comes over and says, hey, walk with me. Well, what's your first responsibility? To your neighbor or to your work?
I would say to work.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's not godly to not take ownership for your responsibility for that day. So I think sometimes we get these verses mixed up in our daily living. You know what I mean? Like they asked me to, they asked me to come help with the children's church. And so that means I've got to prepare the lesson. I got to bring the snack. I got to do it all. And it's kind of like, well, no, not really. What do you've got this ladies' Bible study on this day. You've already got your schedule packed. So sometimes you got to know what are your limits in doing.
Yeah, going the extra mile, going above and beyond when you can, but not intentionally overflowing your plate,
Yeah.
right? And not being treated like a doormat and letting people walk all over you.
Yeah. How come it's important for our emotional and mental health to say no to people?
Yeah, I'm flipping my notes over. I got that right here. You're going to have less anxiety. You're going to feel less depressed because by saying no and setting boundaries, you're acknowledging your self-worth. So you have higher self-esteem and self-respect. And you're also going to improve relationships because a healthy relationship is compromised, and it's feeling safe and connected enough to say no, and knowing that that person is going to respect your boundary and be like, oh, okay, you can't do that right now. That's okay. I get it. You're busy.
Yes, Rachel, she said it perfect. Safe and connected. So if when I go around, there's a member of my family, and when I go around him, he spews out hatred, anger, makes fun, talks about your size. I mean, it's like, oh, I mean, you when you are in the room with this person, the sometimes the dialogue, now they may have grown and changed since, but of course I set a hard boundary and I don't interact with the person. But when you were with, you could feel your energy just going drain, and that's not safe.
No. No.
And to do what God calls you to do in life, you can't go walk around feeling like you're carrying everybody's poison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, do you go
Yeah.
play with a poisonous snake because you have faith? I mean, some people might. I don't know. That might be their religion, but
I'm going to turn the other cheek to that snake personally.
me
Turn
too.
my whole body and run.
Yes, yes. That's all rattler. I'm out of here. Bye. Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes in counseling, clients, they're struggling with saying no very often with family and friends and work. They feel stressed, like you said, anxious, and just downright exhausted. And so I think that's, so important to know. And oh, okay, here we go. And I didn't mention this to you when I shared it with you this morning, but a great book to read is the Boundaries book by Cloud and Townsend, When to Say Yes and When to Say No.
Ooh, I've never
Yes,
read it, but it sounds good.
yes, I thought maybe I'd shared it with you. Um, I had a wonderful mentor. She was my ALP supervisor, and she got me to read that early on, and that helped not only in my practice of counseling, but helped in my personal life to learn when to say no to people. And the example that stands out in that book, Rachel, it was the Good Samaritan. How could you be a good Samaritan if you didn't take care of your own business, your own physical health, your own finances, and your own mental health? He
Yeah.
couldn't have helped out the guy in the ditch, right? That he brought to the hotel. He couldn't have afforded to pay for the man to stay in the hotel because he didn't take care of his business because he was saying yes to all these other people. And he told the guy, I got to go do some business in town, and I'll be back. And I think he says, what if the guy says, well, I need you to stay here and hold my hand because I'm hurt. Well, the guy couldn't do that. You have to take care of your own business so you can take care of others.
That's absolutely right. You can't pour from an empty cup. And we have to, set boundaries and learn how to take care of ourselves so that we can keep a full cup.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see 12 hours of people a day. client.
Oh, yeah.
Because my cup would be so empty that when I go to interact with my next client, I have nothing left emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. So, some good examples are, when you've worked a long day and, your friend calls you up and says, hey, let's go to coffee or go to dinner, but you weren't feeling it, right? Your body and your mind, it was exhausted. And you go ahead and say yes. And you sit in that dinner with that person, are you really going to be present for that person? Or are you going to be checked out and just like, man, I wish I'd said no to this?
Yeah. More than likely checked out.
Yeah.
Thinking like, oh, is it over yet? When can I get home? When ordinarily with that person, you would enjoy spending time together.
Mm-hmm. And that person should honor that no. And that's what you were talking about earlier, is that safety.
Mm-hmm.
If that family member or friend can't honor your no, I question whether they truly care about you or not.
Yeah.
It'd be like me saying, Rachel, work Saturday, Sunday, Monday night. I mean, it'd just be like,
Right.
work
I'd
every
be like,
hour of your
sorry,
life.
Linda, I can't. I have a personal life too.
I mean, yeah, right? Oh, so, and I'm not saying the boundaries are so rigid that you can't be flexible sometimes with those, but your yes is yes and your no means no. And it's just so important to know that that doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you don't say yes to everything, you know.
Yeah. And I think that that is what happens for a lot of people, like, especially if you grow up in a very controlling or chaotic environment and you learn that in order to feel good and important and worthy, I need to behave well. I need to be good. I need to be perfect and make life easier on everyone around me. And if I create discomfort or conflict, I'm a bad person. I'm a burden. Right? And so then we learn that, if we say no, people get upset or they get disappointed. And if people get disappointed, then I'm a disappointment. And that's not true, right? We've got to separate ourselves from others and, understand our worth and understand that we don't own other people's feelings, right? If Linda's disappointed in me, that doesn't mean that I'm a disappointment or a bad person.
Good point. Well stated. Yeah. Um, if your friend, she likes to go to the bars on the weekend, but that's not your scene, but you still love her and want to spend time with her, you suggest walking in the park, and she'll respect that no. I mean, it's just that's, and some people may think it's okay to drink, some people don't, some people do. That's their boundary. And if people can't respect your no, they don't value your person, like you just said, your identity and your value. And it does, I'm telling you, when you start setting boundaries, you lose a lot of people in life.
Right.
And that upbringing, you're right about the upbringing. It I wasn't taught that saying no was an option. So, I tried to please everyone, get everyone to like me, try to make sure everyone's happy, be the peacemaker. What can I do? Maybe if I rub their head, they'll be happy. Maybe if I rub their feet, maybe that'll make them feel good. I was always trying to make people feel good. That's just who I am. And then I never felt like I could say no.
Yeah. It's a trauma response sometimes. Goes right in there with fight, flight, and freeze. There's also a fourth one, fawn. or fawning over people.
I didn't hear about that one. Thank you, Rachel.
I think it's newer. Yeah, people are just starting to talk about it.
Ooh.
When I feel uncomfortable and unsafe, I make sure that everyone around me feels comfortable and safe.
I like that. So you think a lot of people spend time fawning?
I think if you would consider yourself a people pleaser, it would be a good idea to do some self-reflecting and see if maybe you're fawning and you worry, if you're worried that if other people think negatively of you, that means you're a bad person, chances are there's some stuff that you might need to process.
That's good. She's good. She is. That's a good one.
Right?
I've not heard that one. Wow. So that makes sense if you were in a dysfunctional family and that was your role to play in that family, that you would try to do that in most situations, your work environment, your adult family life, and you find yourself feeling exhausted and tired and frustrated and anxious, you probably got a boundary issue
Yeah.
with
Because
people.
it's rooted in fear.
Yeah.
You're not, it's different from being compassionate and empathetic. It's
Yeah.
fear-based because you're trying to achieve peace and avoid conflict. And so you're just trying to just smooth everything over and meet everyone's needs so that everything can be okay.
And what I've noticed is when you go back into your family of origin, say like you go to a family reunion, you'll find yourself back in those roles and you're like, what am I doing? This isn't me. I don't need to be trying to create all this comfort toward people, create peace for them. Yeah.
And feeling like you've lost a sense of self is a big thing that comes up when people can't say no, right? Because you're smothering your own values and beliefs and needs to make sure that everybody else, you're just reflecting what everyone else is doing.
Chameleon-like.
Very chameleon-like, yeah.
Which makes you adaptable in situations, and fluid. You lose yourself, like you just said. Very good. I like that.
It's like, understand that people were doing it to try to stay safe, but it's a false safety.
Yes, I was just reviewing our questions. Yeah, you're trying to feel safe on the inside by creating safety around you. When those people aren't safe, sometimes they're not.
Right.
Yeah. I love the boundary stuff. When is it important to limit or cut someone off? I mean, I've encouraged sometimes, especially adult children who have a negative toxic bond with a parent, where the parent's very critical and says unkind things every interaction. That's not helping that person grow or know who they are. So I do encourage a long break. It's not mean, it's not evil to set some space between you and this person. Yeah, because you need to grow and you need to be able to know who you are. And if all they ever tell you is you're a piece of crap, well, are you going to ever be anything but a piece of crap?
Right. Like, what does that do to a person's self-esteem and self-worth when they're constantly bombarded with negative comments about them? The more you hear something, the more you're going to start to believe it.
Yeah. So
whether it's true or not.
Yeah, exactly. So your view of yourself is distorted based upon what they've told you about you. So when you look in the mirror, you're not seeing what God sees.
Right.
And that can be problematic for us. So yeah. So I think that the boundary setting is so important for your mental health. Um, you know, practicing it in your interactions with friends, family, coworkers, and I think that's very important. So, what other thoughts or comments would you like to make about boundaries, and is it Christ-like to say no? And
Yeah, I think it is Christ-like to say no. I think saying no, as long as it's for self-care, you're not being selfish. Your intent is not to harm or hurt anyone. You're just doing, what you need to take care of yourself and not be overwhelmed or, um, go against your values and beliefs. I think that is Christ-like.
yeah, he spent a lot of time away from people. Everybody forgets all the parts where, oh, Jesus disappeared. And then it says later in the passage, he came off the mountain. What was he doing? He was getting rest. He was getting spiritual rest with God, and he was getting away from the neediness of people. He was getting rest for his own mental and physical health. He did it often, and he didn't do everything they wanted him to do. So,
Don't we tell the devil no?
ooh, yeah. Oh yeah, because when he was out there for 40 days, he told the devil no. Yeah, I mean, the devil tried to get him to turn the stone into bread when he was really hungry, and he's like, "Man, don't live on bread alone. Lives on the word that comes from God, the Spirit." So yeah, we do have to be able to confront people with the word and be able to say, yeah, if someone says, well, it's godly for you to show up for your parents, even if they tell you you're a piece of crap. Honor your parents. Well, they provoke me to anger. What if they're provoking you to anger? Well, that's not from God. People that they're like, well, I should honor my parents. Yes, absolutely. Honor your parents. When you go around your parents, are you left feeling like it was a good interaction or a negative interaction? Did you walk away feeling criticized and harmed in some way? If you did, then you need to create distance, and that's honoring them because they're provoking you to have anger for them when you're around them.
Yeah. Yeah. Not being able to say no creates a lot of resentment.
Yes, so you're walking around hating anyways.
Yeah.
So why not create the distance and the boundary and be like, I'm going to pray for you and I'm going to love you from afar. And that's okay because I'm not Jesus. And so I think that's so important for our listeners or clients out there or people that want to say no, and they're not, that they understand that if you're feeling way down in a relationship or you get negative poisonous feelings when you leave an interaction, there's a boundary issue there. And it's
Yeah.
important for you to create space. Would you agree with that, Rachel?
I absolutely would. And for people who are new at saying no, the hardest part in the beginning is learning and accepting that some people will be upset with you and some people will be disappointed. And that's when you know this is not a healthy relationship. Something's toxic here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
So we appreciate our listeners, and we just want you to know that it's safe and healthy to say no. So
Yeah.
if yeah,
Mm.
did you want to say something, Miss Rachel?
Oh, I was just saying yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's be clear real quick about, let's give some examples on like what do we mean by saying no? What would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want an example?
Yeah, for the listeners, right? So like if you're already swamped and someone asks you to take on one more extra thing and you really just don't have the time or the energy to do it, but you respect and value this person and they're really important to you, you have to tell them no. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm already swamped. I can't take on another obligation, another responsibility. Right? Sometimes it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to say no. And sometimes it's maybe even something that you would really enjoy doing.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you have to say no to really good opportunities because it's just not the right time.
Exactly. And that's a good example is learning when you're tapped out and you've got enough on your plate and you can't possibly put anything else on there. I think another example that just popped up in my mind is social distancing. Because of the pandemic, um, you know, if your neighbor's trying to get closer to you than they should be, and this would be a spatial boundary, is, I did have to tell that I did have to tell a neighbor, hey, you need to stay 6 feet away from me. I mean, it was a very clear boundary. I stuck my arm out and said, you need to stay back because I don't know, I could be asymptomatic. And that was a spatial boundary of saying 6 feet apart means 6 feet apart. It just does. And that's for their safety and mine too. So that's a spatial boundary. That was pretty direct, but I've
Yeah.
learned that you have to be pretty direct with those boundaries. And if people don't respect that, then you have to decide what you're going to do from there. Whether that's leaving the bond or, you know, calling the police if they'll get up too close to you, right? Or calling somebody or doing something. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it's just important to know that there are going to be situations and interactions where you have to say no. So I like our topic today. I think it's helpful.
Good
Yeah.
one.
Mhm. So we appreciate you joining us today for True Vine Talks. And, if you want to seek out counseling, we're almost full, but you can give us a click on truevinewestvirginia.com and check us out. And our podcasts are all listed on there. So we appreciate you and hope you're staying safe and healthy.
All right. Bye.
Bye.